So you should already know the relationship between these two pictures. One is Albert Bandura and the other is a Bobo doll. So in the early 1900s, a movement, an approach called behaviourism was introduced into psychology by John Watson, not the John Watson from Sherlock Holmes. And behaviourists thought, they believed, that all behaviour was learnt. So you learnt by seeing things around your environment. You were basically born like a blank slate, John Watson's famous term was, and that your environment shaped you. You learn everything from your environment. You had nothing innate within you. And he came up with the term classical conditioning. So a really famous experiment was done by a man named Pavlov with some dogs, and if you Google Pavlov's dog experiment, it'll help you see how the dogs learned via classical conditioning technique. And behaviourists like John Watson believed that this form of conditioning, classical conditioning, was a way that humans also learnt things as well. So a little while after that, around 1920s, a man called B.F. Skinner, who was also a behaviourist, took the idea of conditioning and expanded it a little and said that you can also learn via operant conditioning. Now, Skinner and Watson aren't really people we need to know that much about, but it's just interesting to see where Bandura fits all into this, because he came later and basically challenged both these behaviourists' ideas of how people learnt and came up with his theory of his own. And his theory, which is the one we really need to be able to describe, is called social learning theory. So we now need to focus in depth on Bandura's social learning theory. So now over to you. You need to finish this presentation off giving a description of social learning theory and 2 relevant studies which help support or demonstrate it. Good luck! Make sure you describe the theory before you jump into describing the research. So spend time describing the theory, maybe even how it's so different to the idea of conditioning would be really good for some of you who are aiming high. And then go on to briefly describe 2 studies which can be relevant or used to help explain the theory. One you obviously know about, but another one you'll find in your textbook is by Gergely. No need for evaluation. This is only an SAQ learning objective, but we need to know 2 studies according to the syllabus. So, know the theory and be able to describe it, and know 2 relevant studies. So Bandura basically extended the behaviourist views or theories of learning and said that you can learn indirectly. It doesn't have to be just direct. So there's indirect learning, which is also known as vicarious learning. You try to think of an example yourself where you've learned something vicariously. So this is one key difference between traditional behaviourists and Bandura, but there are others too.